Hello everyone, in the previous episodes, we have introduced the basics of creating hair in Blender. However, to create a satisfying hair, in addition to mastering software operations and techniques, it is also necessary to have sufficient understanding of the animal that we are going to create. In this episode, we will focus on how to find and analyze wolf reference materials so that everyone can have a deeper understanding of the animal being created. Let's start with finding wolf references. Before looking for reference materials, we first need to determine the main characteristics of the animal's hair we are creating. In teamwork, our collaboration with modelers and texture artists is crucial. We need to determine a main reference to ensure the direction of the entire production process is consistent. This means that we must reach a consensus on the character's appearance, characteristics, and style, so as to maintain consistency at various stages. Only then can we ensure that the final effect looks naturally unified as a whole. Even in personal creation, a main reference is needed to guide the entire production process. This reference can be defined by yourself, but it must clearly express the character appearance and characteristics you wish to achieve. We are creating a Eurasian wolf character in spring or autumn, as these seasons affect the wolf's fur density. Therefore, when we have clarified that we are creating a wolf in spring or autumn, we need to pay special attention to this when looking for reference. Next, we will start looking for reference. First, we need a main reference that will give us an overall direction. Therefore, the main reference image must be a panoramic image of a side view or perspective view. Images of other angles or scenes are not suitable as the main reference. The main reference image must conform to the hair setting, that is, it must be taken in spring or autumn. At the same time, the overall effect should match the appearance of most reference images, and the hair styling and direction should not be too special, but conform to the characteristics of most reference images. In addition, the reference image must be aesthetic. Do not choose some very ugly pictures. The texture of the material must also match most reference images. Since the main reference image for hair, and that for textures should be consistent, the color also needs to match the textures. When choosing the main reference image, be aware that it may not be perfect, and some aspects may not be ideal. For these deficiencies, we need to find other reference images to compensate. Therefore, the overall reference is mainly a reference for color, material texture, and hair density. Let's check the first reference image to see if it meets our needs. The first reference image is a winter style, which obviously does not meet the requirements, so proceed to the next one. This reference's hair is not aesthetic enough. There are too many and too obvious bumps on the body, which also does not meet the requirements. The next reference image is also for winter, which is not suitable. This reference looks quite suitable because the season matches, the fur looks good, and it is a panoramic side view. We can use this one as the main reference. For teamwork, once the main reference is determined, it is necessary to consult with the texture artists to reach a consensus. If there is a divergence between the main directions for textures and hair reference, we must continue to look for references. Now that we have reached a consensus on the main reference and textures, we can use this reference as the main reference. If the main references for hair and textures cannot reach a consensus, it will lead to a lack of direction in the production process, and the final effect will also be unsatisfactory. So it is necessary to reach a consensus and determine the unified main reference. After the main reference is determined, you can first drag and drop the reference image into the blank area. Use the shortcut C to retain only the wolf area, and other areas can be temporarily excluded. Then, adjust the size and position of the reference image to ensure it fits your workspace. Press Ctrl+N to create a new font object and name it Main to distinguish it from other references. Once the main reference is determined, let's continue looking for other references. Other references are different views of references, including front view, rear view, top view, close-up of the head, character temperament, and material texture reference. These references are very important. Each view also needs a main reference, although the requirements for each view are not so strict, as long as the hair direction and styling look good. It must also conform to some characteristics of the main reference, like the main reference of the wolf's hair does not look too messy, but relatively neat. Next, we search for the main reference for the front view. Gather all the front view reference images together to see which one best meets the requirements. Although the reference images we choose may vary in season and environment, the direction and styling features of the hair are usually relatively similar. Therefore, these reference images can serve as auxiliary references, helping us increase the diversity of hairstyling. Comparing multiple references, we find that the middle reference best meets our needs. Its fur direction not only conforms to the style of most references, but also offers richer detail and layering. The chest fur styling is also more varied, whereas the first reference's fur direction and styling appear more monotonous. Next, drag and drop the middle reference image into the blank area. Then, crop the part with the wolf only. After searching for the front view reference, we move on to the main reference for the rear view. This rear view reference is quite suitable. Once again, crop the part with the wolf only. Drag and drop this reference image into the blank area. After searching for the rear view reference, we proceed to search for the main reference for the top view. Check if this reference is suitable. We find the left reference to be more appropriate, which we can use individually. Although the resolution of the top view is not the highest, we choose this image because the top view is not the most critical one. It mainly ensures we have a reference that clearly shows the direction of the fur. We can rotate the reference image horizontally, making it easier to observe. After finding the top view, we then look for a close-up of the head. We just need to look for a side view reference for the head close-up. Let's first put all the head references together to see which one meets our requirements. The first reference appears to have a monotonous styling, lacking variation, and the direction of the fur is also monotonous, so it's not suitable. The fur styling of the second reference doesn't seem to match the style of most references, with the head fur looking a bit like it's falling out, also unsuitable. The third one looks more appropriate because its styling is rich and matches the style of most reference images. Drag and drop the selected reference image into the blank area and crop the part with the wolf head only. After selecting the head reference, we continue to search for character temperament references. When selecting character temperament references, pay close attention to the wolf's front view, as different wolves have different characteristics and temperaments. Some wolves look fierce, while others may appear more docile. So we need to determine a character temperament for our wolf. Considering we are creating a realistic wolf, we need to be mindful of the wolf's temperament and image. Wolves are often depicted as majestic and ferocious animals, so we hope to present this temperament in the hairstyling, ensuring it matches the wolf's image. Let's put all character image references together and compare which one best meets the needs. Comparing two references, you will find the first one clearly has a stronger temperament, appears more majestic, and also displays the wolf's fierce temperament. The second reference seems bland and lacks vitality. So, we would choose the first reference image. Then, crop the part with the wolf only and drag and drop the selected character temperament reference into the blank area. After selecting the character temperament reference, we proceed to search for material references. Put some panoramic side view references together to compare which one best meets the needs. Here, the first reference looks more suitable because the lighting effect is good, with side lighting clearly showing the highlights and the texture of the fur. The lighting in the second reference image is more subdued, failing to manifest the glossiness of the fur, and the color also differs significantly from the effect we want, making it unsuitable as a reference. The side lighting of the third reference is too strong, causing most of the body to be in shadow, which is not suitable for our material creation reference. Drag and drop the reference image into the blank area. Then, crop the part with the wolf only. Now that we have found the main references for each view, we need to adjust their positions and sizes to make them more orderly. They can be arranged in the order they were initially found for reference. Leave some space between every two main reference images for easier observation. Then, duplicate the names as well. Now, we can start looking for auxiliary references for the main reference. It's hard to create from each view with just one reference, so additional perspectives are necessary for better understanding and creation. These auxiliary references should not be too far off from our main reference, allowing us to analyze it and achieve the desired effect more quickly. We'll start by looking for auxiliary references for the overall main reference. Currently, some parts of the tail in the overall main reference are obscured, preventing us from observing the full details. At this point, we need extra references to help us understand these parts more clearly. The direction and styling of the thighs are too monotonous and lack detail. We need to find some other references to supplement. The neck perspective in the main reference is too perspectival, and we also need to find some more side view references to assist. The direction of the fur on the forelegs is also not clear enough. We need to find some clearer references to help us observe. We can now start looking for auxiliary references. This reference has a more random look at the front of the abdomen with a richer styling, which we can use as a reference. Some specific parts may need clearer references, such as the direction of the shoulders. The previous main reference is not clear enough, so we can look for other images as auxiliary references. Additionally, this reference of the neck looks well aligned and has suitable styling, which can be used as a reference for the neck. After finding the needed parts, we can crop them out. Then, place these auxiliary references together with the main reference for better referencing. There are no specific requirements for the placement of references. It's mainly for convenience. Here, they can be placed closer to the main reference while maintaining order, making observation easier. The styling of the hind legs and tail looks quite suitable, with clear details, and we can see the entirety. Crop out this part of the fur and place it next to the main reference. The reference image for the forelegs clearly shows the direction of the fur with good detail and can be used as a reference. Similarly, the reference images for the lower hind legs and tail are also useful. After cropping, place them next to the main reference. Now, the search for auxiliary references for the overall main reference is complete. Next, we need to find auxiliary references for the front view. This reference clearly shows the concave-convex structure of the neck fur. Crop it out and place it next to the main reference for the front view. The styling of the neck fur is somewhat blurry. We can look for clearer references. For references that are just slightly blurry, it's better to have clearer ones, but it doesn't affect the creation if we don't have. This reference is from the same wolf as the main front view reference and can be cropped out for a clear reference. This reference is also suitable. Place this image together with the main reference image. The head effect in this reference image is quite good, with a sense of structure. We can keep this reference for now. When purposefully looking for references, if you find good ones, keep them as well. This can save time from searching for additional references later. Now, the search for auxiliary references for the front view is complete. Next, we need to find auxiliary references for the head. Currently, the main head reference we found has somewhat messy fur on the top of the head, so we need to find some references that are not so messy. The direction of the muzzle is somewhat unclear and lacks detail. We can look for some clear muzzle references. This reference of the top of the head is more suitable, not too chaotic, and also shows some variation in styling. The direction of the muzzle in this reference is quite clear, and the details are rich. It can be a reference. Then, crop out the reference image and place it together with the main head reference. After finding the head reference, the next step is to find references for the character temperament. Since the character's temperament is very important, and each character's reference is different, we need to focus on one main reference to ensure the accuracy of the character's temperament. We can duplicate a suitable head structure reference we found earlier. Next, we need to look for auxiliary references for the top view. Note that usually, there may not be better choices for top view references, but one top view reference is enough. Following that is the rear view reference. Like the top view, usually only one main rear view reference is needed. Finally, we come to the material reference. For the material reference, we need to search for additional images specifically with the black variegation pattern on the neck, as the current references are not clear enough. We can see that the reference for the black variegation on this neck is clearer. We can crop it out and place it next to the main material reference image. Additionally, we find that the black variegation on the top of the head are not clear enough, so we can look for some related reference images. The black variegation on the top of the head in this reference is alright. We can place it next to the main material reference image and crop it out as well. There are still too few references for the black variegation on the neck. For later production, we need to continue looking for better reference images. When a clearer reference image is found, we can duplicate it and place it next to the main material reference image. Now that the auxiliary references have been found, the next step is to find clear close-up references, which will help us create more detailed effects. We find that this reference is a close-up. We can place it in the blank area for better observation. This reference can serve as a close-up reference for the head. After finding the close-up reference, we also need to find references for small parts, such as whiskers, eyelashes, and ears. These small part references can be found within the head references we have already had. Character temperament references can provide us with references for small parts like eyelashes and whiskers. Since these small parts affect the character's temperament and image, we should choose references according to the character's temperament as much as possible. close-up references can also help us observe the direction and styling of the eyelashes. Similarly, character temperament references can also provide us with references for the direction and styling of the ear fur. So far, we have completed the search for references, and next we will analyze these references.